So this evening we have 4 great speakers who will share their views on brickbait and the future of retail tech for 10 minutes each. Then we'll enter into a short discussion followed by a Q&A. So we should be winding up around 7:30 p.m, so won't be keeping you too long. And if you have any questions, please ask during the Q&A period. So retail technology is increasingly important. It's rapidly evolving, and in order to deliver a seamless, memorable experience across all channels. Startups like those at York Butter Factory have a really important part to play in this, so we're very proud to be here. Tonight we're talking of one channel, which is bricks and mortar. And first up is Dr. Eloise Zoppos, who will introduce brickbait. Eloise is the inspiration for tonight's topic, with an article published in The Conversation earlier this year. Eloise is a senior research and insights consultant at ACRS, specialising in retail and consumer behaviour. She is fascinated by the why behind shopping trends and is passionate about using evidence-based insights to inform business strategies in today's rapidly evolving retail landscape. Tonight, as mentioned, she'll provide an overview of what brickbait is before moving on to best practice in industry today with insights from Steve and Phil and Rupert. So, Eloise, please.
Thanks for the introduction, Rebecca. It's great to be here tonight. So I'm going to get straight into it and talk brickbait. So you've probably all heard of the idea of clickbait, you know, that really catchy article title or link that news media outlets, particularly news.com, love so much to get us to click and read their article. And brickbait is essentially the same thing, but just in a retail context. So it's that really great store design or store element or store experience that gets shoppers to enter a physical retail store and do their shopping at bricks and mortar stores rather than doing it at home, you know, on the couch in your pajamas, which I'm sure some of us in this room are guilty of doing. But more than that, what brickbait is it's the consumer psychology and human behaviour that underpins these experiences. So increasingly in retail today, it's not just enough to create a great experience. It needs to be underpinned by consumer psychology and human behaviour research to make sure it really packs a punch and gets people to actually enter the store. So before I go through some of the strategies that retailers can use to create brickbait, I want to look at what's happening in the retail sector in Australia more broadly. So this data is the ABS retail trade data from December 2018, and it shows that in December, retail turnover fell by 0.4%. Now, that's not huge by any means, but it is interesting because traditionally you'd think that retail in December is going to be pretty strong, whereas we saw a slight decline. A similar thing was also evident in foot traffic in December. So you can see here, if you look at the red, in the lead up to Boxing Day in December, foot traffic across physical stores around Australia fell by 8%. Now, that's not necessarily the case for every physical retail store or every shopping centre around Australia, but it's certainly pointing to a trend when you look at the foot traffic from December 2018 compared to compared to earlier in November, you can see that it's actually declining, which again is interesting because in December you'd think traditionally it's a high time for foot traffic. Where it gets really interesting is when you look at people's attitudes. So our research shows that Australian shoppers still like going to physical retail stores and still want to go and shop at physical retail stores. So our research shows that 68% of Australian shoppers shop at bricks and mortar either most or all of the time, compared to 18% who shop online most or all of the time. So what we're seeing here is an attitude behaviour gap people still want to go to physical stores. And I myself know that I still like going to physical stores because they have some elements that you just can't replicate online, like the tactile experience, like touching, seeing, and trying on what you're buying. But while people still want to go to physical stores, the data's telling us that they're just not. So how can retailers bridge this gap? That's where consumer psychology comes into play. So as I said, it's not just enough to create a great experience. It needs to be underpinned by triggers from consumer psychology and human behaviour to really make them more appealing and encourage more shoppers to turn away from doing shopping on their laptops and their mobile phones and bring them into physical bricks and mortar stores. So I'll go through a couple of examples of some best practice retail both in Australia and overseas. So the first strategy that retailers can use that's backed by consumer psychology is making shoppers feel at home in their store. So this one's really interesting because academic research shows that familiar store design elements can actually firstly attract people to go into a store, encourage them to spend more time in the store, and ultimately leads to them spending more money, because research has shown that the longer a shopper spends in a physical retail store, the more likely they are to spend and the higher that spend becomes. So retailers are turning to this strategy because it is comfortable to shop online at home, so they're trying to replicate that comfortable experience in a physical retail store. Now, the example you see up here is from Rod & Gun, and this is actually from what they call their experiential store, which is here in Melbourne at Chadstone Shopping Centre. So as you can see, they have a wood-panelled roof, they have a living room in the middle of the store, which has a sofa and it has armchairs, has books and magazines on the table. There's also artwork on the walls, and the best thing of all is that there's actually a mini bar, so you can serve yourself some alcohol while you're having a browse around the store. And this is all to make shoppers feel comfortable and encourage them to spend more time and ultimately more money. The second one is probably my favourite. It's what I call the Goldilocks Zone. So this is about getting the relationship between a shopper and the retail assistant just right. So academic research shows that there's a really thin line between a love and a hate of attention when people go shopping. So for example, if someone goes shopping and the sales assistant shows them too little attention, people can feel unwanted, they feel ignored, and sometimes even feel a little bit unworthy, like they don't deserve to be or shop in that store. So what happens is they ultimately turn around without spending any money. On the other hand, if a sales assistant shows shoppers too much attention, people can feel like they're being a little bit pushed and that the sales assistant is a bit aggressive or a little bit demanding, and that has the same effect where people just end up leaving the store. Now, Sephora are doing really innovative things with tech in this space. So in their Bondi store in Sydney, they have an interactive mirror in their fitting rooms that allows people to call for attention and assistance only if and when they need it. So if they're trying on something and they want another size, they can key it in on the mirror and ask the assistant to bring them what they want. But if they're happy to just do their own thing and, try on at their own leisure, they're not feeling bothered by people. Another example of this is Sephora. So this is from their store in the UK. So this is a really great example because it's nailing the Goldilocks zone, but without the high investment that comes with interactive mirrors. So they simply have coloured baskets. So if you go to Sephora and you know what you want and you don't want any assistance, you pick up a black basket. And that tells the staff that they don't need to come and help you, that you're good on your own. But if you're shopping around with a red basket, that tells them that you want someone to come up and assist you with what you want to buy. So this is a great example because essentially it has the same effect, but without the investment of the interactive fitting room mirror. The last example is the VIP treatment. So this feeds into people's longing for a premium or a luxe experience, which we're seeing more and more of, but without the high price tag that might come with some of those items that you traditionally associate with premium and luxe. Now this one's great because psychology research has shown that even something like a welcome, so even feeling welcomed in a store or being greeted when you first enter a store, can make shoppers feel like a VIP. And research shows that when someone feels like a VIP, their satisfaction increases because they've had a great experience, but also their loyalty. So if someone feels like a VIP shopper, they're more likely to go back to that brand or go back to that store to do their shopping. Now, David Jones is doing really great things in this space. So this is from their revamped shoe floor at their Sydney store. So what they've done is they have introduced a shoe concierge, and that's what they actually call these staff. So these people greet you when you enter the floor. So if you come up the escalator, if you get off at the lift, they'll have someone to greet you, to welcome you to the floor, to see if you're shopping for any particular brand or style, so they can then guide you to where that is on the floor. They've also flown in specialist shoe fitters from around the world to help make people feel like a VIP and help get the fit just right. And they too are offering alcohol. So as you wander around the floor and, trying on your shoes, you can have a glass of sparkling and really feel like a VIP without the price tag. So that's it from me. Thank you for allowing me to introduce Brickbait, and I'll be back on later for a discussion.
Thank you, Eloise. I think I'll be shopping at David Jones Sydney from now on. Next we have Stephen Eyears, and he will share his perspective on current Brickbait initiatives in petrol and convenience. So Stephen was appointed as Company Secretary of 7-Eleven stores in 2016. He joined in 2014 and is currently Head of Strategy, Innovation and Business Development. His primary focus is on developing 7-Eleven's innovation strategy across new categories, service offerings and process improvements, both at retail level and internally. Stephen previously held senior roles in retail and channel operations with Telstra and the Ford Motor Company, and has significant experience in marketing, branch management, product development and innovation. So thank you very much for coming here tonight, Stephen.
Thank you. I'm going to sit down so I don't wander up and down the stage. And thank you for letting me follow the doctor. I feel unqualified, but let's give it a go. I also like these things to be a little bit controversial because we all go to lots of different things, and I think the best part of these conversations are the challenges and the back and forward. So please, at any stage, challenge me or ask a question and be prepared to be challenged back. So I would kick off by saying some of those Brickbait examples are really interesting, but apart from Sephora, none of those retailers make any money. So you really have to think about what they're doing. And I think thinking about how do I attract people to my physical stores is actually not the problem you should be solving. There's a different problem that you should be looking at. But I'll tell you a little about 7-Eleven and you can decide whether I'm an idiot or not in a few minutes' time. So everyone knows 7-Eleven. It's one of the world's most well-known brands. Probably, I think they rank it at number 2 in the world, sometimes number 1. In Australia, it's a privately held licence, so a lot of our information is not publicly available. So I can give you a little bit more context to who we are. So just on about 700 stores now. Over the next couple of years, we'll probably get ourselves to just over 1,000. 430 of those 700 are fuel stores, so we're quite a significant fuel retailer in addition to being what you would regard as more of a convenience player. 240 million transactions, so we're a very high velocity business, and a lot of those transactions have been growing very strongly over the last 5 or 6 years. A lot of that growth is actually coming out of food and what we call drinks. Primarily that's hot drinks. So a lot of our convenience categories, the old-fashioned convenience categories that have been around since the 1950s, grocery replacement, etc., for us is not where the growth is. It's all about food on the go and things like hot drinks. And when I say hot drinks, I really mean coffee. So there's probably people in this room, I can see someone here from 7-Eleven actually, that would drink 7-Eleven coffee. Would that be the case? Yes, a few people? Some students at Monash, they're smart people. We are the second biggest coffee purchaser in the country and behind McDonald's. So that is a huge business for us. And I'll talk about it a bit later. There's a lot of real good reasons why we're doing that well in that business. So that's kind of the context of what we are. So in terms of what we do in store to really attract customers, there's a couple of very unsexy things. One, I'll start with the least sexy, and that's we have the right metrics in place. So we are very, very focused on Net Promoter Score. It's something that we track diligently, we are bonused on, we talk about all the time. And we've been doing that for a number of years now. So would you recommend us, etc.? Probably most people here know what NPS is, so I won't bother going into that. But we also collect a lot of data from customers around what drives those NPS scores. And it's really, we have enough data now to see when NPS falls off, store traffic falls off, it affects our business. There's a couple of key metrics there, again, not very sexy, but they're quite obvious when you look at our data. Value for money is a huge thing for us. So we know when fuel prices and other things start to climb, customers start to go, not great value for money, impact on NPS, impacts on store traffic for us. So value for money is one of them. The second one, which is not so obvious, is we have a lot of people get out of bed every day thinking about known for new and exclusive. So we put a lot of effort into new products, exclusive products, whether they're with partners. It could be a Nutella Krispy Kreme donut, it could be a flavour of Coke, it could be all sorts of things. Put a lot of effort into that and a lot of effort into new product development, particularly in food. So that's something we get out of bed every day and it drives a lot of traffic for us. And so that's the other thing. The last thing is the least sexy of all, and that's store appeal. And so, yes, we could sell drinks, we could sell alcohol, and we could have a pretty store and all that sort of stuff, which I think for some retailers is really important. For us, it's about, is that store well stocked, and is it clean, and is the person behind the counter friendly? And we know if we get that wrong, we get those basic wrongs, it impacts on our NPS. So that's the most boring thing, but we've done a few things, other things in the last couple of years which are much more in the digital space to bring people into stores. One is the fuel app. Anyone here on the 7-Eleven fuel app? A few people? So that's an approach we took to getting customers digitally engaged with us, which we think is really, really important for the future. Traditional bricks and mortar store, we know that if we can't get a digital relationship with people, we probably won't be around in the next 10 to 15 years. So that's very high on our list. The fuel app is a very clever way at looking at getting people a price for fuel that they're happy with. Many apps out there talk about what's the lowest price in the market and where to get it. We took a slightly different approach, which was allowing customers to lock in their best local price and have that price guaranteed for a period of 7 days, wherever they buy it at any 7-Eleven in Australia. It's a different way at looking at discounting. It's a way to kind of gamify it, but it's also a way to give people certainty. So when people talk about lowest price, one of the things they're really talking about is, God, how much is the price going to be this week? So if we can give them some certainty over what they're paying, that is really, really attractive. I won't talk about publicly about how successful that is. The app cost a huge amount of money. It's incredibly complicated to build. But the incremental sales that we're pulling out of that particular initiative are quite incredible. So we're investing more in that as we go. The other thing which is a little different to a lot of other retailers, and I'll probably contradict the doctor again, but I'm sure you won't mind. In our business, it's not about slowing you down and keeping you in the store longer. We know that the quicker we can move you through that store, the more money we will make from you. So we're incredibly focused on speed. If you go into a convenience store, you don't want to be hanging around, you don't want to be in a queue, you don't want to be wandering, you don't want to be doing all that sort of stuff. If we can get what you came for in your hand as quickly as possible, then we know you're more likely to come back and you're more likely to grab another thing once you have your primary mission solved. And I think that's probably the case for a few other retailers as well, maybe Officeworks, I'm not sure. So we spend a lot of time thinking about time in store. It's between 80 and 90 seconds, and we get out of bed every day trying to figure out how we get rid of queues and how we do things faster. One of the things in that space which we've done recently is build a mobile scan and go app. So that's been launched in Exhibition Street, and then as of just this morning, we've opened another store in Richmond which is completely cashless with no front counter. You don't have to queue. In fact, as you walk into that store, you can pay for everything before you even pull it off the shelves. And we think that's probably one key thing for the future for us. Excuse me. So that's a couple of things. As I said, I'm trying to attract people to stores, to me, is kind of looking at the problem the wrong way. We're trying to think about what do customers want and how do we do it and how do we make money doing it. It's as simple as that. So we try to be the best at convenience, whatever that means. And you would all know that, the definition of convenience has changed since the 1950s convenience store. We don't think the future is totally reliant on you coming to us for something. We've got to figure out how to get stuff to you. So we've done a couple of things in the recent history, and one is looking at last mile delivery. I'm going to have to grab a glass of water if I can. Thanks. So with Uber Eats and everyone else getting into this market, we can't expect customers to always come to us. Thank you. So very recently we've bought into a company called Tipple. Anyone heard of Tipple? A few people? A few happy people? Tipple is Uber for alcohol, and we Uber Eats for alcohol, and we bought into that company A, because alcohol is a booming industry, but B, they have a very, very clever IT platform which we think we can leverage into the future and start thinking about how we get 7-Eleven stuff to you if you're at home or if you're at your office or wherever you are. So that's something we're investing in significantly in the future. And rather than thinking about trying to attract people into the stores, we actually think of the stores as fulfillment centres. So I would rather build an IT platform than go and find 700 fulfillment centres on every corner in every major city in Australia. That's a lot harder to do. So increasingly we're looking at our stores as just another asset in the whole scheme of things, whether that's digital or physical or whatever. So that's one thing. Probably the last thing that I will mention, because I'm probably over time, is we're spending a lot of money on parcel services, and I know our friends at Officeworks are doing the same, so I'm not going to talk too much about what we're planning to do. But rather than be fearful of online shopping and the Amazons of this world, we thought, well, how can we play in this world? And again, 700 stores is a key asset for the delivery industry, because everyone's trying to figure out how to deliver stuff at the right cost. And if you're not at home when that parcel arrives, that costs everyone a lot of money, except you at this point in time. So we are becoming very much a part of that delivery online ecosystem, and we have major plans to do both inbound deliveries and also outbound over the next couple of years. So with that, I will shut up. And you can decide on whether I'm an idiot or not.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stephen. Definitely not an idiot. Thank you very much for your perspective, and I look forward to the discussion, actually. So next up we have Phil Bishop. So Phil Bishop will be speaking about in-store engagement for big box format stores. He has 20 plus years retail experience, having held senior management roles with Officeworks, Office Max, Target, Myer, Harris Scarfe and Mitre 10. He joined Officeworks in 2012 as General Manager, Merchandise. He was promoted to Director and Head of Merchandise, Marketing and Supply Chain in 2017, And currently, he is the head of what feels like everything, Phil. He's the head of merchandise, marketing, supply chain, stores, online, B2B, call centre, customer experience, and is now director of Geeks to You. Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. I'll just fill up my water at the start.
Oh, actually, can we just go on the next page? I forgot to.
Thank you. I too am going to sit down if that's okay. I don't have a fold-out business card, and we're not planning to sell alcohol. So that's the theme's gone. Look, I probably also come from a bit of a different space. We're in the unsexy space of big box, Dexian racking. It's very different to, I suppose, some of the things that you saw earlier in the presentation. And I think also come at things from a very, and I say this respectfully to our team and to our business, but from a very simple point of view. And that simple point of view is, how do we provide customers with the most seamless and easy experience that they can have? We don't in our business talk about stores and online. It's not in our vernacular. We talk about our customer experience, and we talk about making their life as easy as possible. Where they choose to shop is their choice. And our view on that is that if we can help you have a great experience on the couch, that translates to you coming in and touching the product in store, and finishes with you, purchasing that at the bus stop, so be it. Where you purchase it is kind of an irrelevance to us, other than the commercial realities. And the commercial realities are that rent goes up every year by about 3%. Salaries go up, according to our latest agreement, about probably 3.5%. And so you've got an ever-increasing cost base. So with that becomes the fact that you do have to get store sales to grow. So the way that we look at that, and I suppose the direction that our business has been going for quite some time now, is about keeping that experience, as I said, seamless, but finding ways that engage you without necessarily giving up the retail space of a rod and gun in the example before, because we just can't afford it. We can't afford to dedicate a whole lot of space to a whole lot of experience. So what does experience mean? Experience might mean something like our pen stand, and I think I've got a picture of that. There you go. There's two little things that we like to talk about as far as experience go. So that pen stand was introduced into our business about 5 years ago. Previously, you could only buy packs of pens in Australia. You couldn't buy, the single industry was a Japanese thing. And that stand has about 970 individual products on it. And I think from an experience point of view, I have to get to about page 40 on Amazon to find the pen that I like, as opposed to coming in, touching it, feeling it, trying it, having that pen that I like, and now seeing that it comes in about 8 different colours and coming back. And that to us is experience. That's theatre. That stand itself is retail theatre, as best as you're going to get in a big box retailer with Dexian racking and set formats. On the left, your left, yep, is what we call our wall of chairs. It's only in currently 7 stores, but it'll find its way throughout the network over the next couple of years. But once again, it's theatre. It's our version of theatre, which is bringing products to life and showing the customer the fact that I can take that type of back in that colour, and I can put it with that base, and I can add that type of chrome chair base or armrest or whatever it might be, and I've got over 20,000 products that I can create off that wall. So that wall itself creates 20,000 different combinations. And to us, that's a version of theatre and engagement. I can't get that. We've got that working obviously online, and it's fantastic online as well. It's different. You can click on the product, it spins around, and you can click on the fabric and it changes the colour of the chair, but it's a different experience to the one that you have when you're in store. And I suppose one of the other aspects that we think about from a experience point of view is a couple of things. One, team. What don't I have when I'm sitting on the couch? I don't have someone who's providing me with great service, who's answering that question for me, who's going that extra mile and doing something for me. We think that is integral to being a successful retailer when it comes to bricks and mortar. Another one is range. You know, for all the benefits of having whatever it is number of SKUs that our online competitors have, the reality is that most of us shop off the front page. We don't scroll through to page 2 or 3 or 4, and the only way they really get to know what you want is over a long period of time learning your behaviour and then starting to recommend things beyond there. But by bringing range to life and wide range in stores, as opposed to, and I'll give you an example within the stable, potentially, you know, what a Coles has done, which is to reduce range and do private label, right? I've got a reason potentially to shop at Aldi. I've got a reason to shop online because you're not giving me what I need, which is a difference, a point of difference, which is what range width. So bring range width to life in store. It gives the customer a reason to engage, to explore, and that's what, you know, we're humans. We like to get out. We don't like to sit inside 24/7. We like to engage with our environment, and inside a store which has got more range, I want to explore it and I want to walk around it. And to that end, there's our little door greeter. So that's another key aspect. We know without a doubt that we have a thing called Great Service Score. It's the same as Net Promoter Score, but it's our version of it. And our Great Service Score goes up significantly when the person, the customer, is greeted as they come in the door. Just a simple greeting by that door greeter increases our engagement. Now, if we can go beyond that and, you know, what brings you into the store today and how can I help you and where, you know, can I help you find what you're looking for, etc., we get even better results. But purely by greeting the customer, we get a fantastic Great Service Score. To the point that I was making before, is this little gem opens on Thursday morning. I've been spending my life out there for about the last month, and it's the biggest Officeworks store by 4 times anything else we've got in the network. And this is, once again, I suppose, bringing a whole lot of what I just spoke about to life. This store has got about 35,000 products in it. Our normal stores have got about 14. It expands us into categories that our customers don't know us for, and something that would take us years to get traction on if we were just online. So, you know, a normal store will have about 12 segments, what we call segments, 1.2 metres by 1.8 metres of range, about 12 segments of art. This has got 112. Education resources, most of our stores have got about nine segments. This has got 164. It takes us into commercial printing. It does have some experience zones, so we actually have a Sphero table in there where kids can do coding and actually interact with the coding board and get the little ball to move, the Sphero ball to move around. But what it's about is the focus on bringing wide range to life, getting you to engage with it. How long would it take us to get our customers across all those art products if it was just online? Forever. They come into this store, they see our range, and it's an experience in itself. It's a reason to drive past another store, and it's a reason to come to Officeworks. But also it gives us another point of difference, which it's not the primary reason for the store, but it's another reason. And it goes back to the first point I made, which is about being a seamless, every channel retailer, and not focused on stores or online, but focused on giving the customers the best service they can. And that is that our CFC, where we fulfil, Customer Fulfilment Centre is what we call it, is in Laverton. Trying to get stock from Laverton over to the east of Melbourne is a hell of a problem when you've got a same-day delivery proposition, which our competitors don't. So we will deliver anywhere in Melbourne, same day. Hard to get to the outer parts of Melbourne, same day. This store will give us the ability to pick and pack from this location. It will have the capabilities due to range to deliver about 97% of all the orders come through our system. All the online orders, and therefore now giving us same-day service through to Mornington Peninsula, Portsea, etc. So we'll have the far west covered through to the inner east, or the normal east if you like, and then this will have the capability to go to the far southeast if we want to take it there. So what we then bring to the table is, I suppose, a store that I'm going to drive past a whole lot of other places to get to, that will have a range that I can't experience somewhere else, which will help deliver online and I suppose a seamless proposition to anywhere that I might live, pretty much for about 80 to 85% of people who live in Victoria. So, they're some of the things that we look at when looking at this topic. As I said, we're probably similar to what Stephen said around 7-Eleven. Don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about how to get you into the store, but spend more time trying to make sure that whatever experience you choose with us, it's a seamless one. And we think by doing that, and I'll quote some numbers which are publicly available, our online sales are the largest in Australia at about 22% of all sales, and click and collect runs at over 30% of that 22%. And highlighting the need and I suppose the attraction of a multi-channel player that you'll have if you've got both bricks and mortar and online. You're the only ones who can do that. And that click and collect number is growing, well, it's double what it was 2 years ago. So it is growing exponentially as customers choose to say, I suppose once again, linking to what Stephen said, that pickup location is really important. And if I trust you that you're open as we are until 9 o'clock and you're open at 7 in the morning, then I'll come and pick it up from your store rather than have someone drop it at my door. Not sure if I had another slide. No, I didn't. That's probably about all that I had. As I said, I think there's a whole lot of, and we'll, I suppose, talk about this on the couch later. There's a whole lot of things you can talk about providing experience, and I think some of those are great, and we'll test some of that in a one-off store. But are they commercial inside 166 stores that we've had? Just retail space is such that if I look at the, what a lot of the retailers are doing, the landlords haven't cottoned onto the fact that I've dedicated space to the couch. They're still charging me a lot of rent for it. And so they're the type of things that I think, that are challenging for retailers, is that the rents aren't going down, and potentially the property market hasn't caught up with the fact that online sales are coming at a great rate, and therefore, keeping people in your store, getting them to come into store, but getting the seamlessness between the two channels is really important. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Phil. I'm looking forward to checking out the Mentone store. Might do a click and collect order while I'm there. Last but not least, we have Rupert Deans. So Rupert is an immersive reality pioneer and grew up with dyslexia as a child and often questioned why we have 2D content in a 3D world. He has recognised the enormous potential of augmented reality to solve practical problems and set out to create a tool that will enable anyone to create their own AR experiences with ease. Platter launched in February 2017 and has worked with Fortune 500 and ASX 100 companies including Snooze, Fisher & Paykel, Nespresso, Vicinity Centres, Saab and Unilever. So tonight Rupert will be sharing current initiatives with in-store retail tech and consumer experience. Thank you, Rupert. And I'll get you slides.
Stand or sit, might as well stand since we've been sitting for a while. Well, thank you for everybody taking the time to come along tonight and hear about what we're doing and what we're up to. So a little bit of background, I guess, as you guys mentioned, there's a fundamental shift and change going on in the world. It's all about focusing on the customer experience, and that's what basically I've been focused on since day one. Taking some of those themes into account, such as instead of making the customer come to you, how can you take your product to the customer? And so that's what augmented reality does, and that's what our platform does, is we enable brands and retailers to be able to virtually put their products into the customer's hands with this powerful new technology. So, originally came from New Zealand. As a child, obviously, dyslexia was a huge kind of foundation for understanding and engaging with the world. You might have seen some of the design fiction, such as Minority Report and Terminator, as a kid. Well, that inspired me to get into what we're doing today, and it's overlaying this digital layer within the real world context. And so it has the power to transform how we buy, the way we interact with each other, the way we learn, the way we streamline operations. This is a fundamental shift that's going on. So what kicked it all off is back in 2010, so it's a long time ago, before Facebook, Apple, Google, Microsoft all jumped in and started doing AR recently. I was introduced to this technology. One of my lead producers came to me and said, "Rupert, check this out." I hold up my smartphone over a piece of paper, digital marker, and up popped a 3D house. And I thought, this is amazing. I've seen this in these movies. What is it? And he wanted to explain it was called AR. So at that time, it was something gimmicky. Nobody really applied it to add any value. And so we said, look, why don't we take this technology and why don't we prove it out, prove there's actually value and it's just not a gimmick. And so we went to a company called Hell Pizza. And we created the world's first 3D zombie shooter on a pizza box, right? The perfect experience. No marketing, no advertising, just a really rich content, engaging content experience. Off the back of this, we sold $2 million worth of increased pizzas at $18 a price point. We had 40,000 downloads of the app within 2 months. It was the 8th most downloaded app in New Zealand, above Facebook and above TradeMe for 2 weeks in the App Store. So anytime you can beat Facebook, it's a good thing. So that kind of kicked it off, and it made me understand the power of A, visualization, B, gamification, and C, how we could transform the customer experience that led us down the path of doing Platter. We then had all these global brands coming to us saying, look, how do we create it ourselves? But the problem was it cost a lot of money, it was time consuming, it was hard to create and hard to manage and hard to deliver. Now we saw the same thing with websites and apps, started off very bespoke and customized, and over time got commoditized by platforms like Weebly, Wix, Squarespace, WordPress. And I thought, okay, I've been through this before, it's going to have to happen again with AR and VR. And so that's where the idea for Platter was born. So we went out and we built an MVP, we took it to market. Again, it was still emerging technology over the last few years. There weren't solid user cases, so we had to find what our product market fit was. After a while, we started seeing consistent user cases come through around how do I virtually put my products into my customers' hands? How can I transform my retail experience? They come in store, the colours are not available, the variation's not available, you've got to go back online, you've got to go to this other store to go and find it. Really shit user experience, right? And so that's where AR can be used to deploy and solve these problems. So let me show you a little example of some of the work we're doing and what the platform does today.
Right now, the boundaries between virtual and physical world are being transformed. Augmented reality has arrived on your mobile, both in-app and today on the web. Every day we spend $70 billion online and in store. Every time we buy something, we are taking a gamble. How will it look? Does it fit? Will it suit my needs? Ultimately, we find it difficult to visualise things. For a retailer or brand, this visualisation gap increases friction, reduces sales, and impacts the overall customer experience. We decided to bridge this gap by building Platter, Platter transforms the way customers experience products in 3D and augmented reality. Our platform lets people place, see, interact with and buy your products in their chosen environment. Get up and running quickly with out-of-box templates. From product configurators to marketing activations, presentation tools and support guides. Platter is one place to curate and manage 3D content and bring it to life in AR. Select an outcome, curate your products, enrich with media, add triggers and build scenes to create experiences. Drag and drop interface elements, update content, link to products or choose a configurator. Build your own experiences in minutes, then virtually put them in your customers' hands through your own branded iOS and Android AR apps. Drive online engagement and conversion with 3D viewers. And reach new audiences. Harness Platter XR web apps with full support for AR Quick Look from Apple and WebXR on Chrome. One place to bring all your products to life in 3D. Platter, the augmented reality platform for product experiences.
Cool, so that should give you a bit of background on some of the stuff we've been doing. The last example is basically doing augmented reality through the browser, so it means you don't even need to download an app anymore, and that was featured at Google in December. We showcased the world for that, so it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's the platform. You can come in, you can build these rich content experiences, you then can deploy them through your website, you can deploy them through your own branded app, you can white label them and embed our SDK into an existing app, such as one you mentioned before. So that's currently just been embedded to all the News Corp apps in Australia, so we're in front of 30 million people now with that. It's pretty exciting. You've got WebXR, so this ability to go to a website, tap on a product and virtually place it into your room. No app download required at all. And then the other cool thing is we're also disrupting traditional product photography. Because we've got these 3D models in there and the quality and fidelity is so high now, we can actually export out product shots from there as well. So removing the need to do traditional product photography. So that's another area we're kind of disrupting. So what does this mean for the customer experience? That's enough about us. I guess we need to look at how we innovate across the entire customer life cycle. So from how you activate them, so if we still want to drive them in store or even in their own home to buy and purchase. So that could be going and gamifying their experience like we did with Pokemon, or like the pizza box one where you build a really rich, engaging experience on top of the product to incentivize purchasing behavior. So that's a really kind of good mechanic. Browse, so again, like what we're doing with Snooze, instead of them holding 150,000 product variations, having these massive stores that cost a shitload of money, as we just mentioned from a retail perspective, why not shrink down the store size, enable the customers to go in there, virtually bring in my whole product range, configure it, modify it, and then go online and purchase it later on and see what it looks like in my home before I actually get it there and realize it's the wrong size and color and shape and then have to return it, costing more money and time. So that's where you can bring this whole you can browse the whole product range themselves in their own context. Interact, so that's again, make it a fun experience. Enable me to go in, design, customize, configure it. Nike's done this really well with obviously customizing their shoes. It's a huge trend. Personalization is what we all want. Make it me, make it mine. Purchase, well that just links through the traditional channels. We don't need to innovate that too much. Just close the loop. Support, again, once I buy the product, I get it home. How do I install my configured chair? How do I install my coffee machine I got? What is descale my coffee machine? How the hell do I even do that? 50 pages later I've got to read to figure it out. That's a pain. Who wants to do that? Not me. I'm too ADHD. And then upgrade. Why not use AI and machine learning to be able to recognize your old shitty products and give me a version of what the new option could look like? Queen size bed to a king size bed, different colors and variations. So empower me to purchase in whole new ways. Okay, so some of these technologies can be deployed across existing traditional touch points, but they also can be used from empowering the customer in their own home and their own environment to really create this new seamless and engaging customer experience. And so what are different brands doing, I guess, within the space? How is this being applied? So Emirates, they're kind of using it for more fun activation-based experiences. So you go on the plane, kids get the little kids pack, and up comes a 3D message around the holiday for them. So again, that's just engaging that audience. Activation, so big energy drink company, they want to bring one of their, leverage their sponsorship of one of the music festivals, Sugar Mountain in South Bank. So they built this really rich content experience. You go to a location, you kind of bring that story to life in a whole new way. CUB, they're looking at recruiting and engaging new ways. Again, we've been sent the same boring two-dimensional video 100 times over to say, come work for me. Why not build an immersive experience where I can actually see what it'll look like working within their environment? Okay, am I going to work in the head office, I'm going to work in retail, and I'm going to work in retail and distribution. Enable me to be able to virtually go into those different contexts and see whether it's right for me to want to work there. Give me an authentic story of somebody that's actually been through the process and what they found working in that position or job. That's kind of cool. Browse. Don't make me come in store, try and find the product I want, get home, try and remember what that product looked like in store. I've got this obviously visualization gap. I buy it, I get it home, it doesn't fit through my door. I was there a year ago when I did a renovation, my wife was pissed, and I don't want to do that again. Enable me to be able to virtually put it in my kitchen, check it's the right size, configuration, personalized to my needs, and then buy it. Right? Was anybody in here that wouldn't use that? No? Good. Sub, again, this one's a bit dodgy. Large industrial equipment. Don't go to a trade show, buy a massive stand, virtually take all your products there to scale and then size them and bring them in, enable people to interact and see the features and benefits, how they work. Okay? Again, don't ship them overseas costing $150,000 to ship it. Virtually take it to a location. So that's how they're using the platform. Interact, again, configuration. Enable customers to be able to put your product into their own context, configure it and design it to their needs, make sure it looks right in their environment, and then make an informed purchasing decision. And upgrade, as mentioned earlier on, recognize existing products and sell the dream of what the new version might look like, or the other color you might want to change to next time. So put it into your own kitchen or living room and then purchase it. Transform that customer experience. And then finally, support. Don't make them read a 50-page installation guide or manual. People don't have time. Empower them to get your product up and running, reduce the support calls, and provide a way better customer experience. And again, as we move forward from smartphone devices to wearable headsets that are coming in 2022, with Apple releasing their own smart glasses, some of you might have seen that this week, this is the world we're heading in towards, so you need to gear up for this and be prepared. You need to create this content now and create these user experiences. And then, AR through the browser. So create these seamless experiences where you can put the product into your customers' hands with the click of a button through your website. You just track the floor and away you go. So So this year, augmented reality is going to be on 1.8 billion devices. So pretty much most of the people in the room will have it now enabled through their smartphones. There's real value and utility. It's gone beyond the gimmick. 29% of us would use AR to see a product for buying. 25% of us would use AR to preview product customizations. We're 40% more likely to pay for a product if augmented reality was part of the retail experience. So there's real value and utility in customers adopting and using this technology. And that's why Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, is a huge advocate of this technology. He believes it has the ability to amplify human performance, and that's why they're building their whole technology roadmap around this. So So customers are ready, technology is proven, and you have access to the tools. I hope you all learned something. Cheers.
Thank you, Rupert. Would the presenters be able to join me on stage for a discussion? Awesome, thank you. Thank you. There were some really interesting points of view that were mentioned during our presentation, and for me, one of the things that was evident was this idea that there's no boundaries. So Rupert was just mentioning there's no boundary between physical and virtual realities. It was mentioned that there's no boundaries between online and in-store sales. So there was a quote from Phil, which is, "We don't care where people buy our products." And really spoke to the importance of getting the basics right for in-store retail. But the distinction of in-store versus online seems to be becoming a little bit obsolete. So I just wanted to open the discussion with where to from here with a physical retail presence.
You're the one with the most shops.
I'm a bit over talking about physical retail, and we try to correct ourselves at work, and we're the ones with all the shops. Retail is retail. It's like stores, not stores, online, in the customer's home. Pretty soon you'll be able to buy stuff in your car, you talk to your car. So it's, to me, the bricks and mortar debate is kind of, can we all just move on, please? Would be my view. And, you know, much as the Officeworks, I mean, they have a great model. It's like, however you want to buy it, we'll make sure we get it to you. So it certainly works in my family. They extract a fair bit of money out of my teenagers, or out of me at least anyway.
And with the evolution of organisations becoming boundaryless, what's the importance of technology in the developments that you're looking at? Is it central to what you're looking at?
I'm not a techno person, but I think for us, from a technology point of view, all our energy goes in from that point of view into ensuring that the customer experience is seamless. So we have what we call our every channel roadmap. We don't have anything that talks about improvements into stores or improvements online. We have an every channel roadmap, and that roadmap is about the technology and the things that Rupert put up there will be on that roadmap at some stage. That we'll need to ensure that we have AI capability and virtual reality, and all of those things will make their way onto that, no matter where you're shopping. And when you, as we do, sell furniture, augmented reality makes complete sense to be able to do what we just saw on there. And to be able to experience that in store and then or online, it's integral. And if you also look at, I suppose the supply chain as another means of technology. So how you get your products picked, packed, and to the consumer is going to take a lot of smarts and technology. And I don't think it's necessarily who gets it there fastest, but who does that in an efficient way that builds trust with the customer is really important, and technology plays a huge role in that.
I was just going to say, do you ever think that technology actually can replace that physical experience of going in store, or do you think it's never going to be replaced?
I don't think it will ever be replaced, but I think it's once again, if you went back 20 years or 10 years ago, people were saying that all of retail is going to go away from stores and be online.
Yep.
Well, that's not happened. What has happened is more spending, more consumerism, and the retailers have done well, have embraced that and brought that into their ecosystem, as opposed to try and compete against it. Mm-hmm. And so, if virtual reality is something that takes off, and it will, our challenge as a retailer will be how do we embrace it into our store environment, not seeing it as a threat, but as something that can enhance the experience in store.
Actually.
Yeah, I was in New York in January, and one of the things I was doing was visiting a whole heap of startups and digital natives, and they're all trying to get into physical retail, which I think is kind of interesting, booming area for anyone that wants to make a career out of helping digital natives open physical stores. Big booming area. So the kind of thing is it's going around in circles, and probably in a good way. One digital business said to me, which I thought I had to really think about it, but they said, we see physical retail as a low-cost channel, which
Obviously
is kind of interesting.
They don't share the same rents as you.
Well, no, they saw it as a way to prevent or limit returns. So there's a few retailers out there now that, particularly fashion retailers, they'll have the store, so you can go and choose your size, your style, or whatever you want, make sure it fits. You can't buy it in store, then you go buy it online. And the impact on returns is very significant for them. So it's quite an interesting time, I think.
It is an interesting time, and it's a little bit back to the future in some ways. But in terms of international examples, I'm wondering if you've seen any other best practice that you'd really like to see in the Australian marketplace. For example, I saw in a conference last year a company called MobiMart, which has a mobile convenience store on wheels that's driverless. That it was invented in, it was developed in Sweden, where you don't want to go outside during winter, but you might want to pop out and get some noodles from your convenience store, and actually just drives around. Driverless, you join and can jump on, and it recognises when it needs to be replenished, and then we'll just trundle off to the nearest centre to get restocked, and then head out again. So I was just wondering if there's anything else on the radar that you think's been done really well overseas.
Yeah, I mean, once again, the different types of retailers will think different things are innovative and have different definitions of experience. And, without dumbing it down, being a big box retailer, you generally have to keep things reasonably simple, if you like. And so, one of the retailers I love when I go overseas is REI. I don't know whether anyone knows REI, but outdoor retailer. Fantastic customer experience and engagement when you're in store. Whether it be their signage, which is very educational. I was just telling someone before that it's obviously a family store because it's talking about living in the outdoors. There's a map that you can get as you come into the store for children. And throughout the store, there's educational pieces that the child can fill in on this map. So it forces them to navigate their way around the store, and they'll learn things about the environment and about what REI do to give back to the community and about where the products come, a whole lot of different things. That, to me, is experience. Is it the reason why I went to the store? No, but while I'm in the store, I created an experience for the customer.
There's a couple of experiences that I've had recently which I'd really recommend. One is a Nike store on Fifth Avenue. In terms of, clearly a lot of money's gone to it, and there's a lot of ego and a lot of glamour associated with that store, but they do an incredible amount of things to make you download the app to work in that store. And they use virtual reality, augmented reality. They can pinpoint you anywhere in the store. It's 5 floors or 6 floors, I can't remember. You just push a button, they will bring the merchandise to you. You can hold your phone up in front of the mannequin and it'll tell you all the prices, it'll tell you everything, sizes available. You hit the shirt and the pair of shoes, again, magically someone appears next to you with that product. And the amount of people in that store and the amount of people walking out with extremely expensive shoes was quite incredible. I thought that was a good way for physical retailers to think about how do I get people to digitally engage with me. Very, very convincing. So that's one of them. The 4-star, the Amazon 4-star store is also a really interesting experience for those people who should download that. So everything in that store in Soho is 4 stars plus recommendation. And I thought, that's really weird. And you go into the store and everything, there's kitchens, there's books, kitchenware, there's books, there's whatever. But the power of people working, looking at customer recommendations. I stood next to a couple that didn't, it's New York, they don't actually have a kitchen. And they said, we have to buy that appliance because it's 4.5 stars. Because we've got to have it, like everyone reckons it's great. So that was also extremely interesting. So there's probably a couple I would recommend.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that one on the Nike store that was mentioned. When they first launched the store in New York, they also had a great activation where people could go in and customise their own Nike shoes using AR technology. So people could go into the store, pick up a blank white shoe, design a pattern or colours or whatever they want on the shoe, use AR technology to project their customised design onto the shoe so they could actually see what it looked like. They could try it on and the AR technology would project onto their foot. And this was all done, they could walk out of the store within 90 minutes. So it really tapped into a lot of trends we're seeing in retail, which is firstly personalisation and customisation, because people could go in and choose the exact shoe they want. And it also tapped into that idea of feeling like a VIP, because previously a pair of customised shoes, particularly for Nike, would be for their sports stars or potentially celebrities. So it really made people feel special, and actually used AR to tap into personalisation and customisation as well.
And I think what came through from the presentations earlier was also in terms of the feeling that consumers have, this feeling of certainty came through in a couple of presentations as well. So that's really important, and I really appreciated the emphasis on getting the basics right. Like the unsexy stuff can be what drives your business. And I think you asked a really good question, Stephen, which is, are we asking the right question? And I think that needs to be specific to the type of industry that you're in and the type of consumer need that you're actually fulfilling. So maybe that would be a good place to start. Yeah.
I think the easy part about business is you find out what customers want and then you just do that.
Yeah.
The hard part is doing that profitably.
Doing it profitably,
Yeah.
and consumers wants change over time. So you need to keep on top of that as well. So that's the double challenge. But I'd like to open the floor to questions if there is any for any of our presenters tonight. Hi. We can hear you.
So it's a big theme in our business. A lot of board members ask me all the time about, when are we getting into AI? And you go to a retail conference and everyone's talking about AI and you've got to get into AI. I think that is one of those things. I'm looking at my tech guy to my left here that went through this big sort of, it was like omni-channel or something or other. It was like, get some AI magic. The truth is a lot of businesses already have AI capability. We have it. We don't have as much as we should, but we use it for analytics, predicting, accurate fuel prices, potential, how to maximise volume, demand, impact on the stores. That's a key area for AI for us, and we'll use it ever increasingly in terms of what promotions we put in front of customers at what time of day. We have about 3,500 digital screens now in stores, so you utilise those screens plus these little screens, and eventually the screen in the car, because cars are really important to us, being where we are and what we sell. We use a lot more of it, but it's kind of it's one of those magical things that I think actually when you break it down, a lot of people are doing it, and it's not that mystical actually. From a communication perspective? So I'll answer your question, I think. Let me just talk more broadly. We don't know when it's going to happen, but it will happen. We will all eventually be driving around in vehicles that don't use fossil fuels, I can guarantee that. And we'll probably be driving or being delivered around in autonomous vehicles. So that will happen. The debate is when. And I think more importantly, the vehicle ownership model is going to change radically as well. So our kids probably won't own cars. So they're all big things for us as a fuel retailer and for a business that has a lot of expensive real estate on very expensive corners right throughout the country. So it's quite a topic for us. In terms of how you communicate with customers in those cars. The car's just going to turn into another computer, right? It's just another interface. So we are talking to car companies at the moment. We're talking to tech companies as well. The issue is the industry hasn't sorted itself out yet. So there's a lot of different standards, and there's no real business model at the moment. So I can talk to Ford Motor Company and a few others, and they go, sure, we'll put you in touch with our customers. How much discount on the fuel are you going to give us? And it's a very binary conversation. So until we can kind of work through that, which I think will be a few years, I don't know yet, but guaranteed, that car's going to need some form of energy to keep it going, and certainly those customers inside it will probably still want to eat and drink coffee, so we need to be able to communicate in those cars.
It's just interesting to know when a consumer's in a competitor's store, how you look at the future of convincing them to come to yours, apart from price.
Well, that's a great thing about working for a everyday low price retailer. Price is off the table, and I really mean that. Because it's a drug, price off, and our competitors use it to fuel sales, and we're very lucky. We just drive trust with our customers that we're going to have the best price. But as far as we just keep things really simple. I don't know whether it answers your questions, but if we provide great service, we've got the product that you want, we're in stock, you can buy it wherever you like, get it delivered wherever you like, and we've got a great price, why would you shop somewhere else? It's not a view of ignoring competitors, but our view is do what you do really well, and the customers will select where they shop. If you focus too much on what your competitors are doing, I think you lose track. And I would say a great example of that is what's happened to discount department stores. Target, Big W got spooked by what Kmart did and tried to follow a Kmart strategy rather than have their own. And I think any retailer, it's just about being true to whatever your strategy is, rather than worrying too much about what others are doing.
Good answer.
Thank you, Phil. We've got time for just one more question.
Very interesting set of talks and presentations. One word that wasn't mentioned that used to be the main in retail is location. Especially Stephen and Phil, has location become more important, or is it like those consumer who can go anywhere and as long as on Google Maps it can work out? What's happening there?
Certainly for us, location is very key. So we battle with every other retailer in this country who are trying to get on one of those busy corners. So that's still very, very important for us. In 10 years' time, will it be as important? I'm not quite sure. But yes, we fight with McDonald's and everyone else for those corner locations, and we put a lot of time and effort into looking 10 years out at where the traffic's going to be.
Yeah, still critical for our property strategy is location. The only thing I would add to that is what's driving that location may change. So if I take Alibaba in their Shanghai store, their location is based on effectively the store is a fulfillment centre. So the location is about being the most convenient place to fulfil stock from, even though it's a fully, it's a supermarket with a lot of people running through it. But its location was chosen because it was in a position that was easy to fulfil from. And with the example that I gave you before of our store, it wasn't chosen because of its location, but that's a great outcome. Being on a main arterial in the southeastern suburbs enables part of our overall strategy to be fulfilled. So, it may change whether it's about where are the customers or where is the fulfillment.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you to our presenters who made the time to come out and join us today. I appreciate your insightful comments about the state of bricks and mortar, to bore you further, Stephen. So it's certainly some food for thought there, so thank you very much. I learnt recently that with the advent of smartphones, the average human's attention span is less than a goldfish right now. So a goldfish can pay attention for 8 seconds, humans can do it, 9 seconds, humans can go for 8 on average, and we've just lasted an hour and a bit, so I just wanted to say thank you very much for your attention. Also, thank you very much to Charlie, Courtney and Lehan at YBF in supporting and coordinating this event, so much appreciated, thank you very much. And again, thank you very much to our presenters for this evening. Most of us, apart from Phil, may be hanging around, so please ask us any questions and welcome to come up and have a chat. So thank you very much.